The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, Mike Azzalina, and I am joined by a guy who doesn't mind me being late every once in a while. Regsy Boo, I'm here.
I know. Finally, I guess.
20 minutes later.
Yeah, it's all right. You immediately blamed your wife, so it's all fine.
I mean, hold on. All right. I feel like this is a conversation we need to have. I love my wife so much. And you love my wife.
I do.
So much. Andrea is incredible. Everybody who meets her loves her. But she doesn't have many flaws. She does not have many flaws. She is kind. She's considerate. She cares about people. She is a very good cook. She is a very good leader. But she falls short in regards to being on time. She's in Pittsburgh tonight. And still somehow impacted me being on time tonight. And she FaceTimed.
Yeah, you're the one who asked at 8:30, like 8:20. Hey, what time?
Yeah. And you said 9.
Yep. And I said 9.
And I told her 9. And then we got on FaceTime.
At what time? What time did you get on FaceTime?
Let me tell you. Hold on. Let me tell you.
This could be a key component of the story.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to tell you. Give me a second. FaceTime video came in to me at 8:38.
Oh my God. Okay.
So I said, she said, what time are you supposed to be on?
Mm-hmm.
I said 9 o'clock. All right. And then at 9:10, she says, what time are you supposed to be on? I said 9 o'clock. Oh, it's 9:10. Well, Andrea, I'm 10 minutes late now.
Well, at any point did you jump in and say?
That's when I texted you. That's when I texted you and said, hey, I'm going to be late.
But I just mean, did you step in to say, hey, it's 9 o'clock, like I gotta go?
I wasn't looking at the time. I was talking to my wife.
Okay. So it's kind of your fault too.
Here's the thing. You can blame me all you want. But when we go places, I have to give Andrea a half an hour head start. If we're meant to be somewhere at 5:30, I tell her that we have to leave at 4:30. Just so we leave at 5.
It's good stuff.
I mean, is Andrew on time?
Yes. We share a very similar anxiety to being.
So do I.
To being
I have
late
an
to
anxiety.
Things. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like with you, I don't have that anxiety anymore because we've never started a podcast on time.
Yeah.
The only podcast we've ever started on time were the Jack Fritz and Ruben Amaro podcasts.
Well, yeah, because we had to.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm always late.
I was about to say, I'd love to go back and see what the percentage is. I feel like it's mostly you.
It's always me.
There's been a couple times it's been me, but
here's the reason it's been me. It's either been Puff,
yep,
or Andrea. That's it. Puff or Andrea.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
That's it.
You know, and then me just waiting at the altar by myself over and over.
But you know what? When it's time to kiss the bride, I always kiss the bride, right?
You do. You never skimp. That's for sure.
Oh, man. Not a fool around the horn tonight. Couple things we want to talk about as we go. I want to just mention right off the bat that I was right about Joel Embiid and right about Nikola Jokic.
Yes, you were.
I need to go there right away. Joel Embiid's the MVP of the NBA.
Yeah, he kind of slam dunked it for the next couple of days after that point. That you made.
I don't know what else he has to do.
Nothing, really.
There was a clip. I don't know if I retweeted it or not, but there was a clip where he changed the entire dynamic of an offensive possession just by his presence around the rim.
Yeah.
And then there's a clip of Nikola Jokic doing nothing defensively. And again, like I totally understand. I don't want to have the same conversation that we just had 3 days ago. I understand the importance of offense in today's NBA game. But if you can diminish offense because you're that great of a defender and change a possession entirely and then go down the floor and score 3 of your 38 points, there's a reason you should be the most valuable player in the league.
Yeah, it's also helped that like the Nuggets have come back to earth a little bit record wise, and the fact that like, the Sixers
like 5 in a row.
Yeah, and the Sixers have been winning a lot and essentially have the same record as them, you know, but are in third place. But
yeah, actually, Joel did take betting odds.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I think if the Nuggets were still sort of running away with first place in the West, I think Jokic probably still has it.
Yeah,
but the fact that they've kind of come back to the middle on that, and the Sixers have been playing really well, then people have to really look at everything. Again, they have to compare all the notes instead of just a couple of them.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to whether or not people really like appreciate Vorp or if they appreciate just the all around, you know, player, because Vorp is so much about in the NBA. It's different than like WAR.
Yeah.
Because WAR does take defense into account in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
I don't think Vorp really does. Like, I think it's a lot more about offense and rebounding than it is about what defense comes into play. Whereas WAR, there is a defensive metric that goes into WAR. And yeah, rebounding is important in the NBA, but there are guards who rebound really well. James Harden rebounds really well. It's part of the reason why Joel doesn't rebound as much, because James Harden's a really good rebounder. You know, like he's really good as a guard. So I don't think the Nuggets have that guy.
Yeah, not really.
You know, James Harden is a dude who like lived off of triple doubles for a long time.
Yeah.
Because of his ability to rebound. And Joel has used that to his advantage a little bit. He did that when Ben Simmons was here too. So he's never really had to rebound and feast on that. He's been a scorer and he's been a defender who affects players coming to the basket. It's that simple. It's really that simple. So we're going to leave that there. Sixers are red hot. I think they won again tonight. Did they? No, last night.
No, I was about to say they didn't play tonight.
Yeah. Tonight is Thursday, not Wednesday, but they did win last night. And they play again mañana, correct?
They should.
Yeah, they play the Hornets tomorrow night in Charlotte. They're 10.5-point road favorites. And then Indiana on Saturday. They should be favorites in that game as well. So all is well there in the world of Sixers basketball.
Yeah, the Celtics are kind of hitting a little skid, making the gap a little closer.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
So all good things.
And at this point, where are the Sixers? Yeah, they're a game behind them.
Yep.
Bucks clinched a playoff spot already.
Yeah.
They already clinched a playoff spot, 69 games in. It's crazy to think that they're 13. We're like 13 games away from the playoffs.
I know. It's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I think, Regs, for us, it's because we've been so focused on baseball and football.
Yeah. I don't ever get a sense of how fast the NBA is moving until like this, when it's like, oh, there's 10 games left in the regular season.
And we have to really start honing in.
Yeah, a little bit. We'll get there.
You know, well, listen, we're going to get there. But right now we got to get somewhere else, which is the WBC. We're not going to really go into the Phillies. There's not a whole lot of new news there. We talked a little bit about Ranger. The injury doesn't look super serious. They're going to hold him off a little bit longer. Chris Sanchez is going to be sidelined for a while with his injury. It really looks like they're going to go in with Falter as their like 4 and push off Ranger till like the second go round.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I will say this, that in terms of what we've seen from the guys playing in the WBC that are Phillies, in addition to what we've seen from the Phillies who are currently in Florida, things are looking pretty good, Rex.
I mean, Team USA doesn't win if you don't put Phillies in the lineup.
And Taiwan Walker just blew away
nasty.
an entire lineup.
Yeah, it was really good.
What if Taiwan Walker turns into like Zach Wheeler 2.0?
We're gonna go that high.
I mean, just no. I don't mean exactly that. I mean the climb from like what he was to what he is.
I gotcha.
I think Zach Wheeler always showed the ace potential.
Yeah.
And then reached it with the Phillies, whereas I think Taiwan Walker has that like 2-3 potential, and he's showing it.
Yeah,
I mean, like what did he strike out 8 and 4 innings?
It was really good. Alvarado has closed a couple games, pitched some high leverage innings, pitched well.
Yeah, they could turn that back.
Yeah, I know. Can we just a little bit maybe? We not get him so amped up
it would be okay.
March.
It would be okay. Did you see the Trey Turner home run the other night?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
Oh, that swing.
I know.
and like it's just effortless, and the bat stays in the zone for so unpredictably long.
Yeah.
It is truly special.
It's one of the things I'm most excited about is to watch that guy.
It's special.
Yeah.
It's special.
And again, it's been proven that if you put Mets in the lineup instead of Phillies, you don't win the game. So
yeah, well, I think I saw that out there that McNeil has strained oblique.
Oh, really?
I think I saw something like that, which is why Tim Anderson's been playing second base.
I mean, I really like Tim Anderson. So
listen, remember when Tim Anderson was like one of the first 4 people committed, and I went on a rant about Tim Anderson?
Yes.
Love and also, that guy.
I kind of love that Mike Trout is like being like, "Oh, you forgot about me."
Yeah.
Like you forgot that I've been the best baseball player of my generation.
Here's what I hope.
Let me learn you. Let me learn you a little bit.
I hope that Mike Trout looks at the Angels front office at the end of this year and is like, look, I understand now what it feels like to win.
Yeah.
After the WBC, trade me to the Phillies.
Why couldn't it happen?
And then our lineup is the greatest of all time.
Since like the 27 Yankees.
They just let Mike Trout play right field, and Bryce just assumes the role of first base, and Castellanos plays DH.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a dream.
It is the dream. We've always wanted Mike Trout to come back home.
But like, if this doesn't light your fire, the dude has
especially
played,
if they lose Ohtani like next year.
Oh, which they're going to. He's going to get a $500 million deal.
It's going to be the most ridiculous contract anyone's
probably going to be a Met.
Damn it. Does he have to be? Can he go to like San Francisco or something?
I mean, he could. He could be a Yankee too.
Good, fine. I don't like that either.
Or a Dodger.
Can he go to the Giants?
Or a Dodger.
Yeah.
It's all possible. But all right, I think the real conversation around the WBC right now is the Edwin Diaz debacle. Yeah. And Regs, look, we're Phillies fans. We hate the Mets.
Yes, we do.
That being said, we don't ever root for injuries.
No, that sucked.
That's brutal.
Yeah, really bad.
And we don't know what happened in that pile. We just kind of saw that he fell to the ground.
Yeah.
And a lot could have happened, right? He could have stepped on someone's leg. He could have tried to avoid someone's leg.
Yeah.
But one thing we can say about knee injuries that are non-contact, in half those cases, the leg's ready to go. Like, I know most times, I shouldn't say half, probably a little less than half. It's not fair to say half. Most times it's a wrong step, right? Or, you go to plant one way.
Someone falls into it the wrong way.
But in some cases, like your leg, there's something already stretched to the max. And that step is just the last step.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that was the case with Edwin Diaz. And I'm not trying to claim that was the case with Edwin Diaz. But I'm trying to give context to this whole thing that the WBC is the reason for the injury.
It didn't even happen while he was playing baseball.
Right. Right. There were people calling for this to be the end of the WBC.
That's ridiculous.
Do we not remember that Gavin Lux tore his ACL
in spring training
and his ACL and what was it? Was it his MCL or his PCL? One of the other two. He tore in an exhibition game during spring training.
Yeah.
Like these things happen.
Yeah.
These things occur just by nature. There have been guys walking into the clubhouse that slip
Right.
and tear their ACLs.
Right.
You know,
the unfortunate thing is that it might be the end of it by happenstance because teams might just stop allowing their players to go.
I don't think they can.
I mean,
Can they truly can they say you can't go?
there has to be. There's things in contracts where like guys like can't play basketball or like can't play pickup basketball or things like that. Like,
but like, does the NBA put restrictions on you not being able to play in the Olympics?
I don't believe so, but I don't know if the team has any control of being able to like
But the union could absolutely say you cannot restrict them.
Sure. I don't know the
So
ins and outs of it, but
there's
like
the MLB can't make that a thing without the union permission.
sure, but we already know that teams are telling managers, especially of the US, that like my guy can't go 2 nights in a row. Like,
Right.
yeah, you can
Yes.
have my reliever,
Yes.
but there
Yes.
are these restrictions on him.
Correct. I think that there are probably restrictions across the board, but I think there would be players in absolute uproar if they weren't allowed to play in this. There was an interview today on social media about what's more important to you, the WBC or the World Series.
Yeah, I saw that.
They asked like 5 Puerto Rican players, and all 5 said that the WBC matters more to them.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
I'm
it's
sure legally they probably can't refuse, but you just think about the restrictions that are already in place. Like, look at the U.S. pitching staff.
Yeah, but is that restriction or is that players saying, all right, I'm not going to go?
I would love to know that.
So somebody that I'm friends with who is a Yankee fan said that the Yankees told 2 of their pitchers they couldn't go.
That's what I mean. Like, could Garrett Cole have come? Like, what about Verlander? What about Scherzer? What about
again? I
Corbin
want to know
Burns?
more.
Like, what?
I want to know more. But I feel like if you said you couldn't go, would the Marlins tell Sandy Alcantara that he couldn't go?
Is he pitching in that? I don't think
Yes.
he is. He?
Yes.
Why haven't I
Yes.
heard about
He was
that?
part of the Dominican staff.
Oh, that's gross.
And the Dodgers, Julio Urias
Yeah.
is part of. Is it the Venezuelan staff?
I think
or
so.
the
Yeah, I saw that.
Puerto Rican staff? No matter what, he's part of a staff.
Right.
So, like, in my eyes, there's no team that can really say that because wouldn't the Dodgers tell him that?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't the Phillies say, Trey, we just signed you to an 11-year deal. You can't go play.
Yeah, it certainly is a personal choice. I'm very interested to see how those restrictions go next year or even throughout the rest of this tournament. Like, you have to think every general manager in baseball is just like watching these games like this.
Yeah.
Like with
for
all
sure.
their toes and fingers crossed.
But like, I think in the same breath, today I watched the Mets play, and my boy Brandon Nimmo, I haven't mentioned him on the show in a while, dove for a ball in center field
Yeah.
in a spring game.
Right. Well, that sounds pretty on brand.
It is. And he could also separate his shoulder doing that.
Yes, he could.
So like, how is that
Yeah,
different
no,
from
listen,
going
I'm
and
not,
diving?
I don't think
I know you're not.
Yeah.
I'm just making the statement that like, what are we arguing? What's the argument?
Yeah,
What's
I
the
don't know.
difference? Some guys don't play any differently between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that it's the reason that he tore his knee up because he was jumping up and down in celebration. Didn't the Mets just practice winning a World Series last year?
Yeah.
In which he was on the mound jumping up and down at the end of it? Like, the Mets aren't the team to argue this. I'm having a hard time because I do think this is a thing that most organizations and players get behind. I think most fans get behind it.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
There was more viewership for a game the other night between two Hispanic organizations than there was during the World Series this year.
I think they said the Japan versus Korea game
Is that the one?
Got
Sorry.
more viewers than any World Series game ever.
That was the one. Sorry. Two Asian franchises got more viewership
than any World Series game
than any World Series ever.
Ever. Yeah.
And you know what? The passion behind some of the balls hit in these games reminds me of a playoff atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
This is great for the game.
It is. It is a lot of fun to watch.
Internationally, this is great for the sport.
Yeah.
I will never agree that this should go away.
No, I don't think so. I don't want to do either.
Did you see the oh my gosh, who is the guy who was it? Keith Olbermann? Did you see the Keith Olbermann tweet tonight?
No.
Oh, please let me hold on. Hold the phone.
He's been kind of quiet, hasn't he? He's all of a sudden jumping in.
Riggs, I'm going to tell you, he really wasn't quiet tonight. He wasn't quiet tonight.
I just mean in general, he used to have his own like CNN show, didn't he?
I think he still does.
Does he really?
Countdown is America's least wrong podcast. No, he doesn't. He has a podcast now.
What a loser.
All right. Here you go. Hold on. Yeah, what a loser, right? Where is the tweet from earlier? This tweet might be the most sexist tweet I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, this is going to be good.
It is embarrassing. All right, here it is. This was 20 hours ago. I can't believe he said this. First, Freddie Freeman. Now, Edwin Diaz. The WBC is meaningless exhibition series designed to, get you to buy another uniform. To hell with the real season and split up teammates, wait for it, based on where their grandmothers got laid. Call it off now.
Why would you go there?
Freddie Freeman plays for Canada because his mother was Canadian and passed away.
Yeah, isn't that the case with like what's his name, Newt Bar?
Yes.
Again, that's the same reason. Like
I don't swear on this show. This is an asshole who doesn't understand and just once clicks.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing media. That's awful.
That's really
to put Freddie Freeman's name in that tweet as a guy who plays for that country because of his mother who is recently deceased is an atrocity, Regs.
And also, like, all the Jewish ball players who were playing for Israel, like,
yes,
who knows if their parents, like, eventually, maybe their grandparents at some point lived in Israel, but it's probably been several generations, right? Since any family member has lived in Israel.
Yes.
They're part of that team because of their religious background, not because of their nationality. That's an awful, just like lowbrow tweet from a guy who thinks he's smarter than everyone.
Isn't it terrible? It's terrible.
It's really bad.
And I'm like, almost embarrassed from the sense of like, that's a dude who I followed for a while.
From the ESPN days.
From the ESPN days. That's a guy that I respected and loved watching on SportsCenter.
Mm-hmm.
But that's his view? And he later tweeted, okay, it reads as sexist. For that, I apologize. Make it where their ancestors got laid. That blunt description of the artificiality of the team assignments is also trivial, and for that I apologize. But WBC has always been a threat to what actually counts, the season.
Baseball counts.
Exactly. Baseball counts.
It doesn't make a damn difference if it's the MLB
What am I going to watch? as a diehard baseball fan, spring training or the WBC?
I mean, both.
Yeah,
I go from
you're right.
I go from spring training in the afternoon at 1:05 to the
Right.
WBC at night.
That's fair.
Like, that's what I do.
But this woman, Lindsay Adler. Do you know Lindsay Adler?
I don't think so.
She's a Wall Street Journal baseball writer.
Okay.
She retweeted it, and this is what the response was. He responded to her tweet with that whole, okay, so that's a sexist tweet, and I apologize.
It's not just sexist.
Her
it's
response,
just stupid.
Her response was genuinely shocked to see this take end with a line about players representing their country where their grandmothers got laid. Edwin Diaz grew up in Puerto Rico, and Freddie Freeman plays for Canada in remembrance of his late mother. This is gross. Here's the thing. Edwin Diaz isn't the only player who grew up in the country that they play in. Most of those Dominican players, the Dominican Republic players,
literally came there.
Like, Gene Segura grew up in the Dominican Republic.
Right. Which most of them probably did.
Like, why is this a thing? I understand that Mets fans are bothered today. And Reg's like, we would be too. But I don't think I'd be blaming the WBC, because any of this could happen walking from the clubhouse to the bus.
Right. Or when they go to take like ground balls off the mound during any practice during all of spring. Like, you could tweak a knee. The mound is a raised thing. You could tweak anything trying to change directions quickly off a raised piece of dirt.
Yes.
That's just such a stupid, useless, like, everyone please look at me tweet. Again, from a guy who I get like enjoys being sarcastic and sort of thinking that he's like, his quips are funnier than everyone else's because he's smarter than everyone else. Like, I get that that's kind of his shtick, but like, that's an asinine tweet.
It is. It really, really is.
And again, it's very simple. I can describe this in my own emotion and watching like the clips and things like that after he got hurt. I'm not going to say I didn't smile for like 10 seconds. I'm not proud of that fact, but it happened. But it also immediately went to like, that just sucks.
Yeah.
Like, a guy who's pitching the best he's ever pitched just signed a huge contract on the basis of his performance, is still pitching unbelievably well. And like, that freak thing happens. Like, it's awful. Yeah. It's terrible.
No, it sucks. And
not something you would want to happen to anybody.
And I'm going to say this. There are a lot of Mets fans who are melting down right now, and I want to tell them this from a Philly fan. Don't melt down. Like, that team's still really good. And I don't think the closer position matters. So they have two guys who can close games. Adam Ottavino and David Robertson.
Yeah.
Both who will inevitably get hurt at some point. But
no, David Robinson's going to be the picture of health all season just because he just left the Phillies.
And an all-star.
Yeah. Yep.
Guaranteed.
He just wraps his best years around his stints in Philadelphia.
This is much different than like Francisco Lindor getting hurt.
Yeah.
Or, like, they still have a top 5 to 6 lineup in the game.
Yeah.
So don't panic.
Yeah. I think it's just it's acknowledging that it sucks. It was a freak. It was a freak accident. And obviously Mets fans are going to feel like, this season is sort of doomed. But
it's not.
I don't want to tell them to feel better because I really don't want them to feel good. But it wasn't the WBC's fault.
Correct.
Is the bottom line.
Agreed. All right. Sweet.
And Keith Olbermann, you're an idiot.
Yeah, you're an asshole. You're a complete asshole.
Jesus.
That's such a shitty thing to say.
So stupid.
Even if you say ancestors,
it doesn't make any difference. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day,
idiotic.
It still matters. And if you ask the players, it clearly matters.
Yeah, right.
Clearly matters. All right. So they don't play then until Saturday.
Yes.
So we have a little bit of breathing.
A little bit of a break.
Until Saturday. All right. Brings us to the Eagles.
Lots to talk about here.
What a 4 days it has been for us.
Wild.
Insane. Let's recap.
So many emotions.
It started by losing TJ Edwards. It continued by losing Javon Hargrave. It then continued by losing Marcus Epps. We somewhere in there re-signed Brandon Graham. I actually think that was actually before we talked about it on our previous show.
Right.
That was before TJ Edwards.
Yeah.
And then it in the midst of it all, actually like early on, they re-signed Jason Kelce, which was fantastic. Fantastic.
If you haven't seen Howie's reaction to that,
yeah,
just
Regs and I
find it
will
on
redo
Twitter.
it when we meet up again.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
Oh, so good. And recently, they lost Miles Sanders.
Yep.
They lost Gardner Minshew.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost their second linebacker in White. So they lost both linebackers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They lost one of their top defensive tackles, right? They lost one of their starting safeties. They lost their starting running back. They lost their backup quarterback. And I'm about to say 2 words that are going to sound very confusing. Don't panic. Don't panic. And here's why, Regs. They lost 2 linebackers, right?
Yep.
Nakobe Dean is going to step in and be the guy.
Yeah.
There, right?
Extremely interested to watch how that goes.
I mean, he got a year to get healthy.
No, listen, I think
right?
You're absolutely right. The kid obviously has the talent
and the brain.
Yeah. And again, we didn't get to see him even play a little bit last year.
He played in some mop-ups.
Right.
Like actually there was a game where he played because Edwards got hurt. And he stepped in. It was Tennessee. Remember he had that one-arm tackle on Derrick Henry?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I texted you and I was like, Frakes, he just tackled Derrick Henry with one arm. There's something with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't shock me if they bring in a veteran to pair with him. It's obviously not going to be Kaiser White. He's gone now. But there are other veterans who are going to be ring chasing. So that's not beyond them. Let's go to Marcus Epps.
Yeah.
Now this statement is withstanding the idea that I truly believe that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is coming back to the Eagles.
Right. Even after his deleted tweet.
Yeah, I just think it's basically like if he hasn't signed somewhere else right now, he's going to be an Eagle.
Okay. That tweet kind of again sent everyone into a tizzy. Yeah,
and then it went away. He's the definition of drama. He loves it. He loves this attention.
That's very true.
And I love him for that. There's nothing wrong with it. Marcus Epps. Marcus Epps was, I believe, an undrafted free agent or like a late round pick or a waiver claim. I think he was a waiver claim.
Okay.
If they can make a waiver claim into a safety who played as well as Marcus Epps, they can make Reed Blankenship into that same player because Reed Blankenship is a very natural safety.
Yeah, and you could say he's got more experience than he would have.
Yes.
Coming into this spot. Again, it was because Gardner-Johnson got hurt, which was a bummer, but
yeah,
he's played in what? 9 or 10
Yes.
actual NFL football games now,
Including the Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And he looked fine in all of them.
Yeah. His first game, he was a little.
Oh, the Packers game.
Yeah. But he kind of figured it out.
Well, he picked off.
He did.
Future Jet Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers.
That's right.
Douchebag. So they have a replacement there.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders. I love Miles.
Mm-hmm.
I will always love Miles Sanders. There were things about Miles that drove me up the wall.
Yeah.
One of those being he could not hit a hole to save his life. The dancing drove me nuts.
Yeah.
But Miles Sanders' new contract on a yearly salary is more than all of the Eagles' current running backs make combined. I think his salary is like 6'9".
Yeah. It's classic.
And the Eagles' total running back room is like 5'6" or something like that.
Classic Eagles move.
It's our line is going to do the job.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I believe you.
And I think you made a good point that now having Perry is such a big boon to like the blocking also, because he's just such a big guy.
He's a good blocker.
Like as much as we might like Kenny or Scott, they're little running backs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like as you said before we started, Penny like looks like a linebacker.
Oh my God.
He's gonna throw his shoulder into people and they're not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be a big deal because people still do think that blitzing Jalen is the way to get him out of his rhythm.
Yeah.
And sort of disrupt all that.
And I think, we're going to see some things from this offense this year with Penny that we didn't see in the past because his explosiveness, he's decisive. He's a foot in the ground guy.
Mm-hmm.
And there were plays where I felt like we left on the field where there were holes and Miles didn't hit them.
Yeah.
And Penny's going to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
And if he plays 14 games this year, I think he leads the NFL in rushing.
It'll be huge because he's shown to be a very good running back when healthy.
And here's the fun part. Russell Wilson is not a great runner.
Yeah.
Like he's a good scrambler, but he's not a great runner. And oh my gosh, remind me the name of their quarterback right now in Seattle.
Geno Smith.
Yeah. Also not a good runner. So the read option now plays totally different for teams.
Yeah.
You've always had to account for both guys in the backfield, but Rashad Penny with this line? Come on, man. Forget it.
Yeah. If he stays healthy, it's going to be good.
They'll figure out backup quarterback one way or another.
Yeah.
I actually think they'll draft one. I don't think this is going to be something they worry a whole lot about.
Yeah.
They'll draft one and pick up somebody off the scrap
mm-hmm.
that gets cut later. So really what they need to look at right now is linebacker. They need a linebacker. I would prefer a veteran there. And they need to make sure that Chauncey comes back. Here, let's talk about who they kept because this is fun. BG, right?
Yep.
Fletch comes back on a lesser deal.
Great.
We talked about Kels.
Huge.
Hall of Fame center.
Huge.
Hall of Fame center. Unbelievable. And you know what? I will tell you, Isaac Seumalo is still out there.
He is.
Wondering, could it be? Does he come back? Maybe. Again,
yeah, we haven't.
He's still out there.
Yeah.
Other guards have been signed. it almost makes me think, like, do people believe that he was a product of playing between two Hall of Famers?
He was very good.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
But was that because he was playing between two Hall of Famers?
I mean, it doesn't hurt. You know?
Right?
It doesn't hurt.
Right. They brought back giant killer Boston Scott.
That's right. The Boston Scott anytime touchdown still lives.
Still lives. And then they brought back the best cornerback duo in football.
This was a wild one.
They brought back James Bradbury, and unbeknownst to all of us, Darius Slay.
Yeah. You want to just like talk through that whole thing if anybody sort of missed it?
What a wild situation
Yeah.
that Darius Slay thing.
Wild.
So they signed Bradbury, and we're like, oh, we got them both back. And then within 12 hours, it's, well, no, we don't.
Well, this started with Slay's agent being allowed to seek trade offers even before all this happened.
Yeah.
And then we get into free agency.
It's contract negotiation.
Sure.
Yeah.
We get into free agency. We sign Bradbury.
Uh-huh.
It then comes out that the Eagles and Slay could not reach an agreement and they're going to release him. Slay puts out the tweet. His wife puts out the tweet. Nothing happens, like officially. Nothing officially happens. And then all of a sudden, some reporters are tweeting like, hearing that Slay is really not gone.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that they re-signed him for a few more years, but at no more money than they already have him for. And now Slay is back on the team. and never was officially released.
But tonight it came out that it was technically an extension.
Yes.
But the extension provides them $10 million in cap space this year.
Right.
Which leads me to believe that they're still really in that conversation for Chauncey.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, we still have to take into account the Jalen contract.
Right. Which they could sign him and say most of this money is coming in 2025 when we have $120 million in cap space.
Right.
You know, because at that point, how many picks will they have had between this year and next year? They have 12 picks next year alone.
Yeah.
You know, and 4 picks in the top 100 this year. So there's a lot of flexibility. I will never in my life doubt Howie Roseman in the cap world. The guy is Harry Potter.
He's a cap wizard.
Of the salary cap. You know, I was talking to somebody today, and I'm not gonna throw their name out there because I respect their opinion. And they said, you know, at some point this has got to catch up with him, right? And I was like, no. He's been doing this since Chip left.
Yeah.
It's been almost a decade.
Yeah. It
there's something, and the argument is, well, if it works, everybody else would do it. Well, I don't agree. Maybe everybody else isn't comfortable. Maybe ownership isn't comfortable. Ownership has to be comfortable with paying these bonuses that he continues to give out.
Yeah.
And the base salary that he continues to give out. If ownership doesn't want to do that, then no. Other GMs can't do what he does.
Yeah.
It goes back to Jeffrey Lurie wanting to win.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And it also speaks to like the culture.
Yes.
That Howie has helped put together here. Guys are realizing that this is a great place to play.
Yeah.
And again, it's not going to be for everybody. We've seen that. Cough, cough, Carson Wentz, cough, cough. You know, it's not going to be for everybody. But when you find guys that get it, it makes it difficult to leave, especially considering I think all sports are in this position. Like the market is so volatile in free agency that, I mean, I know baseball is just spending money hand over foot, but it's really only for the top guys.
Mm-hmm.
In football, you really see the market get kind of established. But even, I think we were talking about some safety that got signed for like a ton more than the rest of the couple safeties that got signed. And like that was such an outlier to the rest of the contracts that football is very much a place where GMs aren't trying to make a splash.
Right.
Like they're not trying to be like baseball owners where they're like, you know, look how much I spent. They're trying to find, and again, this is like it's been a thing. Like you know, NFL players have thought they're underpaid and things like that. That's a whole another side of the story. But GMs aren't typically looking to go to a guy and say, "I'm going to pay you the most money you've ever seen for this position." They use like a lot of historical research and a lot of sort of, you know, they use the market as like, no, this is what this position is worth with your stats and your ability.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be the case in maybe, I don't know why Gardner Johnson wouldn't, you know, take in a hefty salary. He's a very good player who showed that he can ball hawk the crap out of the ball and make the big plays and come up and stop the run and all those things. That's why we like him so much. That's why we hope we bring him back. But I think it's just when guys go out there and realize that they're not sort of going to get paid what they think, they kind of come back to, okay, well, did I like it here? Like, is this a place that I will take $5 million less dollars to stay in a place that I know wants to win, has an established offense that just made the Super Bowl, and has a GM and an owner who are kind of like all in, like they're not looking to lose anytime soon.
Right.
So I just think for the guys who know that they can handle Philadelphia and enjoy it, like you don't see a ton of professional athletes taking less money than they think they're owed. It's just not a thing. Like it's not an agent's job either to like promote that or offer that kind of pathway. They want you to make as much money as possible, just like the union does, so that salaries keep going up and all those things. But like Bradbury said on his NBC Sports, he was on a podcast with NBC Sports with John Clark. Like, yeah, I had other offers on the table that were more money. He didn't say where or how much, but he said, yeah, I decided this is the place I wanted to be. You know, and that's a guy who's been here 1 year. Like, that's not a guy like Fletch or BG who is saying like, no, I want to finish my career here and I'm willing to take a little less money.
Yeah.
To make sure that everything else can go smoothly. He's been here for 1 season. And he's already saying that.
And I want to take a moment to credit Nick Sirianni for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, a guy who was heavily criticized early in his coaching career that clearly has created a culture for players to want to stay. Jimmy Kempski, who is a writer for the Philly Voice, tweeted tonight, the Giants never had to cut James Bradbury. If they needed cap space, they could have very easily converted his salary into signing bonus and spread out his cap over his future years. Instead, they let an all-pro walk out of the building, and now they have to face him twice a season. It appears as though a Giant fan who tagged himself a social media influencer with 139 followers on Twitter.
Sure, why not?
Said the Eagles never had to cut Slay, just could have added some void years, right? No. What they did was smarter. Adding void years is dead money automatically. What they did was they added years that he could potentially play at a number that's manageable with the cap. Not adding void years in which they're just dead years.
Yeah.
They're years that he doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather pay him to exist if he can still play.
Yeah.
Because we talked a lot about Slay, and I don't want to hang too much longer here because I want to get to who they picked up and sort of what that means for them. But at some point, teams stopped throwing to you, right? Like, he wasn't great the second half of the year, but how much of it was teams stopped throwing his direction? Like, he was only getting targeted a couple times a game. And I know we argued this earlier.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look because I remember a lot of times guys just being really open and him 6 yards behind.
And here's the other thing that I think is important to recognize. Some of that falls back on the middle of the field and how you're defending the middle of the field.
Sure, I think that's fair.
Because they were getting beat a lot in the middle of the field. They were not getting beat on the sideline.
No, generally not.
And when you're playing that far off the ball, not pressuring, and you're allowing players to get loose in the middle of the field, which is where the Eagles were very susceptible, your corners look like they're on islands, or they look more weak. They look weaker. I don't know that that was the case. I almost wonder, and again, this goes back to me having to go back and look at the season, how much of it was that TJ Edwards wasn't athletic enough to cover. Kaiser White wasn't on the field in dime.
Yeah.
So when teams run slants to the middle of the field, it does look like Darius can't cover it. But it's really that the linebacker doesn't have the instincts and the quickness to make it happen. So we're going to have to see what happens this year with a really young and talented instinctual linebacker. Because that's what Nakobe Dean is.
And a different defensive scheme, you would imagine.
Correct. Somewhat. All right, real quickly. Gained. Greedy Williams.
Yeah, just
Perry.
tonight.
Yeah. So we talked about Perry a little bit. Let's talk about Williams. Second round pick out of LSU with the Browns. If there's one thing we know about Cleveland, it's that they don't develop a single position on the field well.
Crossing Broad put up a little video of AJ Brown absolutely mossing Greedy Williams in like a practice.
They don't develop a single position.
It was just very funny. It was just very funny.
Like LSU recruits really good athletes.
They do. They really do.
And Greedy Williams was a really good corner at LSU in a very difficult conference. And then just disappeared when he got to Cleveland.
Yeah.
He's 25. It's worth the risk.
They've seen something. Right? They're not taking him for no reason. It's like we kind of talk about when the Phillies went out and got Brandon Marsh. You said when we did that, like, this guy he was a top prospect, but just has not been able to hit the baseball.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's no way Dave Dombrowski didn't go to Kevin Long and say, what do you see, man? Like, can you help him?
Yeah.
Like, there's obviously, they have seen something. They see that talent is there, and they believe that they can get the best out of him.
Correct.
And they believe that they have two guys at the top who are going to be willing to share their knowledge and bring this kid along to put him in the best position to be the best version of himself.
And here's the other part to this. It affects what they do in the draft.
Yes.
I don't know now that they're going to go ahead and take a guy at 10. I don't know that they're going to take anything at 10. I said to you before the show, there are two possibilities. They could trade back from 10 and end up taking two defensive linemen, or an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman.
What?
Or they could couple 10 and 30 and move up to take a defensive lineman that is at the top of the draft.
Yeah.
Because Regs, there's a really good chance that the first 5 picks are going to be quarterback.
Yeah. What do you think about depending on obviously what happens with Gardner Johnson, but let's just say we don't get him. Do they use a pick on a safety, or do you think they have to get a veteran because of Reed's sort of inexperience?
I don't know that there's a safety to get in the first.
That's fair because I haven't looked at it obviously, but I'm just
I have to dig a little deeper.
The question came to my mind.
I'd have to dig a little deeper, but just looking at the forefront of the draft, I don't know that there's a safety out there that I'm saying that's a guy I want in the first round.
Yeah, and you would imagine that they would want a veteran there to play next to Reed.
Yeah, you got you having 2 first-year safeties because Reed essentially is still a first-year safety.
Exactly.
You know, I think having Chauncey next to him would be enormous.
Yeah, for sure.
You have a ball hawk and a tackler.
Yeah. I mean, and Chauncey proved himself to not be afraid to step up and
make tackles either.
Yeah.
But with a true tackler back there, a guy technically you're the definition of a strong safety.
Mm-hmm.
Going and making plays, it allows him to be free and roam. I really believe that their plan right now after signing Greedy Williams is we're gonna push back another year on the corner situation because they have 2 seconds and a first next year. So they can use those to move up for a corner next year.
Yes.
And this year the plan is either couple your firsts and move up for the big time defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be the kid from Alabama or the kid from Georgia, I don't know. Or move back, get your offensive lineman who's a replacement for Lane, and then get your defensive lineman in at the end of the first.
Yep.
They have a lot of options because they have a lot of picks available to them. I mean, like I said, they've got 4 top 100 picks this year and 14 total picks next year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of picks available to them that they can move, maneuver, use however they want.
Mm-hmm.
And an offense that's entirely intact.
Yeah.
So really right now, what they need to do is add pass rush in the middle of their defense, which regs like Fletcher Cox, Millen Williams, Jordan Davis. That's a damn good start.
Yeah. It's again, I think this a lot of this stuff is truly based around depth because Fletch, like we saw how Fletch can benefit from less reps at more high intensity.
Right.
So I think this is purely around, and again, Jordan Davis isn't going to be in there for you on all 4 downs.
Right.
They have to, get a couple guys who are versatile, but also to build the depth that they're used to. They've seen the success that happens when they have depth. And I don't think it's something that Howie wants to go away from.
No,
but again, you're not starting from zero.
No.
Like
no. And that's why I'm telling people not to panic, because like the edges are still, it's the same 4 they started with last year.
Yeah.
It doesn't change. The same 4. I messed this up on our last show, but they still have Brandon Graham. They still have my gosh, I'm drawing blanks on all their names. They have Sweat,
Hassan,
and the kid they drafted. Derek Barnett.
Yep.
They have all 4 of those guys back. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And in your interior defensive line, you have 2 younger dudes. You have Millen Williams, Jordan Davis, both in their first to third year, with Fletcher Cox. And you added maybe another veteran on a cheap deal somewhere along the way, scrap heap guy. You have a young linebacker who you took a 3rd round chance on that was one of the top players in college football and showed signs of life last year. 2 of the best corners in the game, arguably the best corner duo in the game. A safety who showed out, hopefully you bring back another safety you showed out. So your
Yep.
secondary is your secondary. And really all you're replacing is defensive line, interior defensive line, and linebacker.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And then the rest of your draft is whatever's the best available, we're going to take. We're going to take. I think one other position that we have to be focused on as we move forward is that third receiver.
Sure.
Because I don't know that they believe in my guy, Wes Watkins, anymore.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. He had his chance.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of talk about Adam Thielen.
That would be kind of nuts.
Because Darius Slay had him on his podcast and said, come to Philly.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to win here.
Yeah.
And he kind of laughed at it. But now that Darius is back, you wonder, like, this is one of those guys I was talking about earlier in the show. Is this a guy who is looking for another bag, or is this a guy who's looking to ring chase a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're looking to ring chase, this is the team to ring chase with.
Yeah.
If you line up Adam Thielen in the slot with Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert,
Yep.
and then you've got Brashard Perry in the backfield with that offensive line, Adam Thielen probably has 70 catches with that.
Yeah. He's going to be open a lot.
A lot.
Like,
He's a guy that got open on his own a lot.
Like, really open a lot. Yeah.
So look out for that third receiver position, because I don't think the Eagles are going to settle there. I think they're going to look to upgrade there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's with him or in the draft, they're going to look to upgrade there. So basically the overall message is do not panic. Everywhere they lost a guy, there's someone to replace them.
Yep.
The only place we panic right now is if we don't bring back Chauncey. If we don't bring back Chauncey, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
But everywhere else, there's a replacement. Like, people are like, oh my gosh, we overpaid for Fletch. No, we didn't. There's a dude who had 2.5 sacks last year, making $14.5 million.
Yeah.
Fletch had 7. He's making 10.
Yeah.
It's not an overpay.
No, I don't think so.
It's grace from a guy who wants to be here. Don't panic. Howie is a cap hero. I saw a meme today. And then I'm gonna ask you one question before I go into Phixated.
Okay.
Saw a meme today. You're a Catholic. You'll get this. Jesus was sitting there saying, we have 5,000 people here. Someone else is like, I don't have enough fish. Then there was Howie as a disciple standing next to Jesus that said, let me run the numbers. And then there was a cutoff. And then Jesus was standing there with his arms out and his back to the screen that said, I can feed you all.
That's pretty good. Oh, that's pretty good.
It's probably very, very anti-Catholic.
No, it's hilarious. I love it.
I'm probably going to hell for saying it.
Whatever. I've been there.
Howie is the definition of a cap god.
Yeah.
The guy just knows how to manipulate.
He figures it out.
He knows how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you this question, then we're going to jump into the Phixated.
All right.
Is there anybody that stands out as a guy that, like, oh crap, can't believe we lost him? Or on the other side, oh my goodness, this is huge that we kept him?
I don't think we've lost anybody that's like a really crap.
Okay.
I think like Gardner Johnson is that guy. If it happens, I think I was more excited to keep one of the two corners. I honestly thought there was a world where we don't keep either of them.
Okay.
So I think bringing Bradbury back as the younger guy who performed extremely well towards the end of the season was huge, especially for a defense at the time that had lost a lot of starters.
Yeah.
Like off the rip. So I was extremely pleased to get Bradbury back.
Yes.
Because I truly did think that there was a very real chance that we were getting neither of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say this. Someone just tweeted, Zach Berman just tweeted that Greedy Williams is 25, started 21 games in 3 seasons for the Browns, spent all of 2020 on the IR. It was a 2019 second round pick out of LSU. 6'2", 185. Ran a 4.37.
I like 6'2".
I like 4.37 40. Howie's off season so far.
I
Resigned
love tall
James
cornerbacks.
Bradbury, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and Boston Scott. Extended Darius Slay, signed Rashad Berry, and Greedy Williams. I don't know that there's a better start to an offseason in football.
It's going better than I thought it would. If I'm honest, like overall, it's going better than I thought it would.
It's so good, Regs. It's so good. So good. All right, you got time for a fixated?
Hit me.
All right. I'm frozen on my screen. Am I good on your screen?
You're fantastic.
All right, good. We'll go by your screen. So this is not a sports fixated, Regs. I'm going off the sports cuff. Are you good with that?
This is your show, man.
All right. I gotta tell you, I tweeted this. So anybody that follows me on Twitter, I'm really sorry they got to hear it twice. So with this new gig, Regs, I spend a lot of time in the airport.
You are building up those miles.
You know, Reg, so I got to ask you, what's your biggest airport pet peeve?
Oh man, there's a couple of them. I think it's when people stand up in the airplane as soon as it lands and the door isn't open.
Yeah.
Like, where are we going? Where are we going, guys?
Especially if people have connections and they're standing up in front of the connections.
Yes.
That's annoying.
Yeah. It's like, where are we going? The door is still closed.
All right, here's mine. And I've only realized it since I've started traveling a little bit more. I'm really bothered when we're starting to load the plane and people stand up and block you from entering with your group. Like, if you're group 7, why are you standing when they call like military onto the plane? There's no reason for it.
No, there's
like
not.
Plain etiquette matters. And I'm immediately bothered by people who don't have it.
This, by the way, is my very close second pet peeve to the one I just mentioned. Oh my God, yeah.
Is it? I'm not military grade. I'm usually like group 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That's where I enter. But I'll tell you this right now, I'm not up there in group 1 or 2. I'm still sitting down. My butt's in the chair. So if you're group 7, why am I fighting through you? And I watch you get up and stand up when they start calling the flight. What is the purpose? If you're group 7, why are you standing during military boarding? There's no reason. Like, I've been group 7. When I go on vacation, I board group 7 because I have no reason to upgrade. I'm not trying to pay more. I'm already paying how much money to go sit on a beach and drink for free. Free.
Yeah.
Quotes.
Yeah, right.
All week. I'm not trying to pay extra money to board on group 4. So I'm going to sit my butt in the chair until they say final call. Group 7. Now boarding Delta. Like, Regs, Am I missing something?
No.
Why are people standing up?
I don't know. This is a great take. Those people are dumb.
I usually stick to sports. I don't get political. I don't go social. But I am so bothered and annoyed. And I think some of it was because I was doing the red eye.
Yeah. You weren't in a great mood to jump.
I was not. I was not in a great mood, and you know this because I was texting you.
I did.
I was not in a great mood that night. I was not in a great mood. I was in an angry mood. I was bothered by a lot of things happening around me. There was a lot of screaming.
Mm-hmm.
I could have gotten over all that. I could have pushed past all that. I can't push past ignorance. Like, look, I will never be angry long term at a baby who is on a flight at 10 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I will never be upset at that. That's just, I was annoyed by it because I was tired. I hadn't slept all week. Like, I will be annoyed by it for a heartbeat and then realize that's a parent who's really struggling, right? Like, I'm a human. I have a heart. What I don't have a heart for is the person that stands up in group 7 when they are boarding military in group 1 and premium members.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
You're clogging, and they even say it, Regs. Do not clog it while we're boarding. Do not clog the boarding area. And they are lining up in this small area that I cannot get through.
See, this is where it helps to be my size.
Yeah, being a little guy doesn't help.
Because I just bulldoze.
Being a little guy doesn't help.
I know,
man.
See?
It doesn't help.
This is where you miss your lead blocker.
So that's my fixated tonight. If you're listening and you're one of those people who boards before your group is called, stop.
Assess your life choices.
Yeah. Rethink it. Stop. Because there's someone like me who's very annoyed by you and is tweeting it and talking about it on their podcast that
and you're just you're just wrong.
And you're wrong.
Yeah, you're just wrong.
You're inconsiderate and wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to be inconsiderate. Someone's job is to say to you, do not stand up until we call your group.
Right.
Yet you still stand up and you make that person bad at their job. Don't be that person.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm cutting this up tomorrow and making it part of
I can't wait. I can't wait. Be right up there, right up there with the light fight.
The light fight. Well, you agree with this.
I do agree with this. This is not a fight.
This isn't a fight. This is just be a good human being.
This is just a PSA. This is a fixated PSA.
Be a good human being.
Yeah. That's the title of the tweet. Fixated PSA.
I actually think the title of the show is Be a Good Human Being.
There you go. No, it's Howie is a cap wizard. That's the title of the show.
You know what Howie doesn't do?
Yeah, he's flying private. He drives right up to the plane and walks right on whenever he wants to.
But you know what Howie wouldn't do?
Yeah, stand up when his...
Yeah, Howie would be considerate.
That's
be
right.
Howie. Howie wouldn't do this to us.
That's right.
You know what the background of this is going to be when I play it?
I don't know what.
The Eagles fight song.
I love it. Even better.
That's right. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us a little bit. Make sure you click subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right below us. If you are listening on one of your podcast platforms, please go in and rate us and share it with somebody that they can go in and follow as well and rate while they're there. Please make sure that you check us out on social media. It is at B&B Podcast on Instagram. You can follow that on Twitter. You can follow at the Phixated Pod. You can follow me at the Mic Drop 5 and Regs at Big Regs with a Z We are soon going golf club shopping. We're probably going to record a lot of that adventure.
I cannot wait.
With both of us, and
that's a crossover episode.
A crossover episode with the two-way Miss host Chris Fairbanks. That will be a fun day. Regs is just going to be recording all of the.
That's like getting the whole company together. It's like getting the whole network together.
Excitement.
Oh,
Regs will be recording all of the excitement.
I can't wait.
We are also playing in a golf tournament on May 7th.
That is also true.
One that we have won before. So there will be a lot of content flowing through your feeds that day as well. All of us together, the three of us and my brother-in-law. So we will enjoy that day. That will be fun. Ultimately, make sure you follow us, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you're not the person getting up during boarding when it's not your turn to get up during boarding. If you are not going to be that person, I love you. If you're going to be that person, I don't ever want to speak to you again. So have a great evening. I hope you enjoyed the show. We appreciate you listening, but please stay seated until they call your group number. Much love. Take care. Go Birds. Go Phils. We'll see you next week.
All hail Howie.
To right field, way up there, and way out of here! The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.